My name is Jack Colley. That's the name I'm going to go by for this particular video. Some of you know me by a different name, but for this video, I get to put on my persona of Jack Colley, my alter ego. So I'm going to switch over here, and here we go. So just a couple kind of heads up, or I'm just going to kind of tell you what I'm trying to do here. So this is my black book right here. It's just a little composition book, and when I chew on things, or if people ask me questions, if I have students that ask me questions after a lecture or in the classroom, or I have friends or people who like to talk philosophy, psychology, just life. If I get an idea about something that I just need to chew on, I often put it in this book, in this book. And so this is my composition book, and we are on page 1. So if you look up at the very top of this green box here where my finger's poking up just above, there's page 1, and there's the date. So we've got July 4 of 2024. We got the title screen. We've got kind of my Jack Colley logo there, the goddess Kali. And you'll notice I have a ticker here. So this is going to change from, I guess you call it an episode. I guess I'll have to get all the lingo down correctly, but we're going to start with seasons today. Each of these episodes or broadcasts I want to be, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes. I don't want them to be long at all. And yeah, so just I hope you pick up on something. I hope that maybe this gives you some insight with respect to my music, with some of the thoughts that I have. And please email me. I think you can probably do your Google magic and find my email and contact information somehow. Send me questions. If I say something that could be said in a, I don't know, more diplomatic way, I mean, I want to be respectful, and I want to be diplomatic. And most importantly, I want everything that I say to be accessible. And maybe another disclaimer would be this, when ideas go into this little black book, I may completely change my mind tomorrow on an idea. I mean, to me, that's just part of being human, part of growing. And so these are just sharing ideas for what it's worth, because I feel like I'm getting enough ideas in my little black book that I want to do something with these ideas. All right, so seasons. So let's start with this. And the first page in this book, it actually started with my kind of realizing that sometimes stories are told, and sometimes we either accept them wholeheartedly or we fully dismiss them. And sometimes when a story is told to us, or we hear a story, sometimes I think that there's a lot of value in just sitting with the story and kind of processing it and seeing if there's maybe more to the story than just the literal interpretation of it. And so I wrote some notes about the literal interpretation of stories, and how if we get stuck on just the literal interpretation, if we don't go any deeper than the literal, then we really have limited ourselves to a most basic understanding of the story. And so that's where I'm going to start here. And a good example of this is, and this is kind of shameless promotion too, but hey, that's partly why I'm here. So I wrote a song to my daughter called Seasons, and it was just about the different seasons in her life. And so even a few years ago, when I wrote this song, it was almost like I was interpreting different events in her life as being associated with different seasons. And so there are stories in our life, or parts of our lives, where we can pretty clearly say, hey, I was living in spring here, or I was living in summer, or, the darker parts of our story, the darker times that we experience. We can say, man, that was the winter season. I've heard the phrase, the winter of our discontent. So we have all of these associations that we can make with seasons. So we're going to start with winter, and winter is something that I've had to get used to in the state of Michigan, because in the state of Michigan, we have winter, well, I mean, technically a few months out of the year. And I've had to, in order to, I guess, get the most out of winter, instead of always sitting around thinking about going somewhere warm, in other words, making it a season that I can embrace and I can kind of accept, What I've had to do is I've had to look at just the idea of snow, the idea of death, the idea of this white blanket covering everything that has died, and the death, of course, has come from the previous season of autumn and fall. So winter is this season of death. And this season of death is just a time for us to reflect and wait. And a lot of times we don't like to do that. We want to schedule, the vacation on spring break in April, and then the whole winter, instead of just kind of savoring that time of, yes, it's about death, but it's also a time for us to reflect. It's a time for us to wait. It's a time for us to prepare for new birth. And winter can really be quite a beautiful season, if you start to see the symbolism in it. One of the things about winter that I absolutely love, so this is kind of one of those, I take a lot of tangents. So this is going to be a short little bunny trail. I warn my college students that, hey, we're going to go on a bunny trail now. But this is a little bunny trail. One of the cool things about winter is that the winter solstice, so winter officially arrives right around December 20 or 21 at what's called the winter solstice, which is, in the northern hemispheres, from our perspective in the northern hemisphere, it's when the earth is tilted fully toward the sun. Oh, I apologize. Tilted away from the sun. And it's the shortest day of the year in terms of the amount of sunlight. And of course, it kicks off the winter season. And what I find interesting about the placement of Christmas, because you'll figure this out, but holidays are really important to me. Like the symbolism of holidays are important. Halloween is my favorite holiday. So when we talk about autumn, I'm sure that we'll get to Halloween. So Halloween is it's uh, the holiday of death, and October 31, the holiday of death. Autumn season leading to winter, which is actually the season of death. And then that starts on December 20 or 21 is the winter solstice. That's when summer starts. Winter starts. And then on December 25, we have this holiday of Christmas. And if you look up some of the symbolism of, for example, Christmas lights, Christmas trees, the idea that a Christmas tree is an evergreen, that it's buried under a blanket of snow, and yet there's still life that we can count on, even though we look around and all we see is this death. And we know that there's nothing living underneath the snow. And Christmas, in a way, almost announces to us that 4 days after winter, we're already getting kind of this glimpse of hope that we're going to be able to make it through the winter. And so that is just a really important element of the Christmas holiday. When I look at Christmas lights, Christmas trees, the celebrations, the giving, that despite all of the death around us, having only been here for 3 or 4 days, depending on where, the summer or the winter solstice lines up with Christmas, we have this incredible holiday of hope that life will begin. So winter, it's a season of reflection, waiting, and we have these glimmers of hope, whether it's the Christmas holiday just 4 days into winter saying, you know what, it's all going to be okay. Whether or not it's, I've got this little block that I have that I kind of keep next to my monitor. It's got a phrase on it, this too shall pass, which probably, I'm guessing that this was probably inspired by or made by somebody from the Christian tradition, but I think that this element certainly appears in other religious traditions, this idea that even though winter is here, it's going to pass. So that's all I want to say today. I want to keep these short, and that was winter. And next time I make one of these, we're going to go on to the next season, and then yeah. So yeah, I guess that's just where I want to stop. So I will see you next time, and thanks for listening. And namaste, my friends.